It is it today Wednesday?
Yeah, I think.
It's election season. We're on our campaign segments. Our last one will be Friday when early voting starts.
Exciting.
We've had Kelly here during the primary. Every candidate for each primary gets a slot. So this is Kelly's general election slot. Kelly Gibbs is running for the Grundy County Register of Deeds. Gosh, I can't even believe it's here. He has chosen, we have two sets of questions that are out there, and he has already done the first selection in the primary. You did the other ones.
Correct. I did those in the primary.
So we've kind of gone into the other questions that are kind of the same but different, and that's what we're going to do today.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Let's go.
Well, first tell us a little bit about yourself, and then what is your experience related to the job you are seeking?
So my name is Kelly Gibbs. I am a lifelong resident of Grundy County. I've lived in Grootly Logger my whole life. My parents are Keith Gibbs and Janie Lane, both of Grootly Logger. I graduated Grundy County High School in 1998, and I've been here ever since. So that's a little bit about me. I go to Mount Etta Free Will Baptist Church. I'm very proud of my church and my church family. I'm married to Lisa Gibbs, and we have an 8-year-old. He just turned 8. Little Caden, if you've seen me out campaigning, he's been with me a lot, with me all day yesterday. And as for my experience that's related to this job, boy, Iva, that's a lot. It kind of fell in place that way. And so before I get into that experience, I'd like to talk a little bit about what the Register of Deeds office actually does. Because if we talk about that a little bit, then it'll make sense as to what I'm saying when I say I have a lot of experience pertaining to that job. So the Register of Deeds office handles all the county's legal documents. I know in the title Register of Deeds, deeds is obviously the main thing that the office handles, but it handles things other than that. It handles wills, it handles veterans papers, it works with banks and mortgage companies, and handles other legal documents as they pertain to land. So when you go into the Register of Deeds office, you have the main front there where the desks are. But then if you go just beyond that, what you're going to see is a huge vault. And inside that vault, I guess that vault's as big as this room, and inside that vault, you're going to see just dozens and dozens and dozens of books. And what those books record is every transaction, every property transaction since we became a county back in the 1840s. And so in order to be a good Register of Deeds, you have to be somebody who is very well versed in historical documents, because I've been a teacher at Grundy County High School for 20 years. I've taught history and government there. I've taught for Chattanooga State, taught them history for the last 15 years. And I have a couple graduate degrees in history, one from Austin Peay State University, one from Lee University. And I bring all that in because in your question, you want to know what from my past experience qualifies me to run for this job. Well, let's say that you want to buy a piece of property, okay? The first thing you're going to do when you go to buy a piece of property is you're going to hire an attorney to do a title search. That attorney is going to come to the Register of Deeds office. And then with the Register of Deeds, we're going to work with that attorney, and we are going to look at the property that Miss Iva wants to buy, and we're going to follow that property back as far as we possibly can in those historical records, and we're going to make sure that somebody can't lay claim to your property, that you have a clear deed, you have a clear chain of title there, and we're going to make sure that when you buy that property, you can be assured that nobody's going to be able to lay claim to it. Now, the reason I mentioned the degrees I have in history is when I was working on those degrees, the whole time you are accessing historical records, you're looking at historical records, you're trying to interpret what those historical records are saying. For instance, I can remember working on a case one time in college, and I was researching some local history, and the man that I was looking at, his last name was Lane. Well, when you start going back into the historical records, he spelled his name Layne, but then you go back and he's referred to as Mr. Lane, Mr. Lane. And then he's also referred to as Mr. Lain, Mr. Lane. And what you find out is a lot of people back in the 1800s, a lot of people weren't able to read or write. So they would spell their name the way it sounded. If you look at the census records, the census takers would spell those names the way they sounded. So when you go into the registrar's office and you go into those catalogs of just decades and decades of historical records, you have to try to interpret and figure out just exactly what it is they're saying or who they're referring to. So, like I said, I have 2 graduate degrees in history. I have a bachelor's in political science and government. I have 20 years teaching history at the high school level. I have 15 years teaching history at the college level. Um, that strong historical background, I really feel like qualifies me to run for this position. And that's not even to mention the time that I spent as mayor of the city of Grootly-Lager or the time I've spent on the county commission. All these past experiences, I can bring those to the table when working for this job. And I think that's the things that qualify me to run.
All right. Um, all right. What are your goals related to?
Okay, so Miss Iva, I've watched some of the interviews that you've had with some of the other candidates, and this is going to sound a little redundant if you people have been watching, if everybody's been watching, but I want to make the Register of Deeds office the greatest Register of Deeds office in the entire country. I know I've heard candidates say that about other positions, but I truly want to make it the best office. I want to make it as efficient as humanly possible. I want to go and look at other offices, other registers' offices around, and see maybe some of the things they do in their day-to-day work, and see if there's anything we can adopt to make our office better. We have a good Register of Deeds office now. I'm not saying that. It's a great office. But you know as well as I do, we can always improve. There's always ways we can innovate. There's always ways that we can make things better for our people. So one of my goals is to reach out, try to find out what other people are doing, and see if we can incorporate some of those practices into our office to make it better. Another thing, and this is the first time I've mentioned it, but I want to mention it here on the show this morning. I really believe with the county acquiring the armory, there's lots of space, there's lots of business space, lots of offices. What I would really like to see is I would like to work with the county commission, I'd like to work with the mayor, and I'd like to see if it is possible to open a satellite office of the Register of Deeds office for maybe 1 or 2 days a week. I know it wouldn't be feasible to open it 5 days a week, but if we could come up with the funding, if we could make this process work, just to open up a satellite office for people from Tracy City, Monteagle, Valley Home, Pelham Valley, it would be an incredibly huge asset to people on the south end of the county if they could drive to the armory 1 or 2 days a week and do the business that they would normally have to drive all the way to Altamont for. Now, I'm not going to promise that it'll work. I've thought about it, and I know there's going to be some issues. We got to make sure that everything's secure. Unfortunately, we live in a world where cybersecurity is a huge issue, so we'd have to make sure that we could make sure our lines were hardwired, that there was no possibility of any kind of theft of property electronically or anything. But I really believe that it is totally possible to open up a branch office of the Register of Deeds office in the armory that the county now owns. And that's something that I would love to do. If the people elect me, if I'm blessed with this job, I'm going to do everything I possibly can in the first 4 years to try to open a satellite office of the Register of Deeds office, at least for a day or two a week at the armory, if we can make it work security-wise. So that is a goal of mine. That's the first time I've mentioned that, but I want to make sure that everybody knows that is a goal.
I won't lie. That would be super cool.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Next question. What leadership positions have you held?
How long is this interview? So as far as leadership positions, in 2004, I ran for the Grootly-Lager City Council as an alderman, and I was elected, and I was 24. I was one of the youngest aldermen, maybe the youngest alderman. I don't know. Rick Rulin might have beat me by a year or two, but I don't know. But I was one of the youngest aldermen the city had ever elected. Immediately, they appointed me vice mayor, which made me one of the youngest vice mayors the city of Grootly-Lager ever had at 24. And then after I had done that for 8 years, I ran for mayor of Grootly-Lager and served as mayor for 8 years. And so that's one place that I truly learned. I learned what it was to be a leader. I learned the challenges that come with leadership, and from there, I got elected to the county commission. I've been on the Budget and Finance Committee for 8 years, where we look into the county budget of not just the Register of Deeds office, but every department inside the county, whether it be the Sheriff's Department, the Highway Department, Register of Deeds, whatever. We look at those budgets, and we try to find out what's necessary. We want to fund those offices so that the officers can do a good job, but at the same time, we've got to be careful with the county's money as well. So that's a leadership role. I mentioned that I've been a history teacher at Grundy County High School for 20 years. During that time, I have been on the leadership committee. Now, a lot of people don't know what that is unless you're in the school system, but basically, the principal will pick out 7 or 8 teachers, guidance counselors, different people in the school. And when the state comes in with some new law or some new mandate and they say, here, Grundy County High School, here's what you're going to do, the principal will assemble her leadership team together, and we sit around a table just like this one, and we just hash out ideas on what we think is the best response to whatever it is the state wants. We develop plans. We also create the school improvement plan every year, where we sit down and we look at goals and objectives, things that we would like to see improve, things that we would like to work on. And then as a leadership team, we develop how we're going to attack those things. So I don't know, I could go on for a long time about leadership positions because I've been doing it since 2004. One other thing I would like to mention is that in 1999, I joined the Grootly Logger Volunteer Fire Department. And for roughly 23 years, I was the assistant fire chief there. And that's a different type of leadership. That's a type of leadership that when the call goes out, it's always an important one. It may be a car wreck, it may be a house fire, it could be somebody's cat stuck in a tree. Who knows what's going to come in? But most of the decisions you make from that role, that leadership role, are under intense stress. And the decisions you make could literally be the difference in life or death, someone losing their home or not. So I've had a variety of leadership experiences that we could talk about, but I hope that answers that question for you and the viewers, but we could go on.
I do. I've always been impressed. All right. So anyway, well, here we go. Do you have an experience working as a team?
Okay. So I'm glad we have that question, because this experience as a team and the leadership question, they actually work hand in hand. And one thing that I learned when I was the vice mayor, like I said, I was vice mayor of Grootly for 8 years. So I actually served under 2 separate mayors. So I had 8 years to watch those mayors. I saw the things that they did well. I saw the things that needed improved upon. And one thing that I learned, and it's always stayed with me ever since I was very young, is that as a leader, you are only as good as the people you have around you. You are only as good as the team you work with every day. So when I became mayor of Grootly, I tried to hire people that I knew were competent. I tried to hire people that I knew were qualified. But most importantly, I tried to hire people that I knew were passionate about wanting to improve my community. And we would bring people in as employees. I would sit down with the city council and I'd say, okay, guys, we're all in here for the next 4 years. Let's develop a 1-year plan. Let's develop a 5-year plan. Let's develop a 10-year plan. What are your priorities? What would you like to see done in our community over the next 4 years? And, we would get input from everybody at the table, whether it was the city council members, whether it was the city employees, whether it was the volunteer firemen, because we're all part of the same community. We're all vested in that community, and we all want to see that community improve. So as a team, I guess as the mayor, I was kind of the facilitator of a team. And once we got everybody on board and once we knew what everybody wanted to accomplish, we would set out small objectives to achieve those goals. So as mayor, I was part of a team. On the county commission, I am part of a team. We're all working together to try to make Grundy County the best it can be. I know we just opened up Miracle on the Mountain just a few days ago. You would not believe the amount of blood, sweat, tears, prayers that went into that park. But we all worked as a team. The county commission worked with the mayor. We worked with the citizens. we worked as a team, and we were able, through the grace of God, to pull off one of the greatest things that's ever came to this county. It's been such a unifying experience to see people out there at that park talking and seeing kids playing together and stuff. That's not possible without teamwork. I'm telling you, that's incredible teamwork. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And it's not what can I do or what can you do or what can he or she do. It's what can we do to try to bring the best things possible to this. In the Register of Deeds office, it would be no different. First thing I would do if I were to be elected Register of Deeds, the day after the election, I would go to the Register of Deeds office and I'd sit down with those incredible ladies that are already working in there, doing a good job, and I would say, hey, nothing's changed. All I want to do is sit down with you, and I want to work out a plan so that we can create the greatest office possible. I don't want to get elected and fire anybody. I don't want to get elected and start replacing people. The first thing I want to do is work with the people that are already in there and say, what do you need in order for this office to be successful? And then I want to work every day as a team member with the people already there and try to make that office as good as possible. So I hope that answered that question.
That great answer. Okay. I got a little teary-eyed because the Miracle on the Mountain, no one knows how long.
Oh, yeah.
And the efforts that took against all odds.
Well, see, Iva, I was there at the high school with Miss Audrey. She was the librarian at the high school. And she told some of us about her dream to have a park where children with disabilities could play with children without disabilities. And it was such a wonderful idea. And Miss Audrey and her husband and a handful of people, they worked really hard. But then, unfortunately, we know Miss Audrey got sick. And it broke our hearts when Miss Audrey passed away. But I'm glad to know that dream didn't die. And I'm glad to know that Mayor Brady picked up that dream and took it to the county commission and said, we need to do this. It's what's right for our people. And the county commission got on board, and I can tell you from day one, they told the mayor, they're like, look, spare no expense, whatever it takes to make this park one of the best parks in the country, we want that for our people. And that's how that came about. So,
well, it is kind of funny seeing people, well, if Grundy can do it,
why
can't we have this? I'm like,
it feels good to be on that end.
Gosh,
Yes,
does.
it sure does. It sure does.
So I thank you so much. All right, moving on. I'm so sorry. I get
That's
excited
okay.
about that. Oh gosh, this is a good question. What prepares you for the beating you will take from the public? How will you handle folks who disagree with you?
So, Iva, I'm going to tell you, I've been in the public eye since 2004, and I'm no stranger to getting beat up. Okay, I'm not. But I will tell you this. Something I learned, again, from my time as mayor of Grootly. I got to watch those other mayors, and I got to see the way they dealt with conflicts. I got to see the way they dealt with things. And one thing that I learned early on is that 99% of the disagreements you see in public or on social media or whatever, 99% are miscommunication. 99% could be totally avoided if you knew there was a problem and you went straight to that person and looked them in the eye and said, look, okay, I understand that there's a miscommunication here. Let's figure it out. I'll give you a great example. A few years ago, we were working on the county budget, and it was going to be necessary to cut a few things. And the local paper was there. I have nothing against the local paper, but they were there. This has been a few years ago. And I had made a comment in a county commission meeting. I said, yeah, we have to tighten our belt, and we may have to shave a few things here or there, but there's no possible way that we can cut Mountaintop. There's no possible way we can cut the free clinic, And the Herald ran my comment as I had said it. Well, I get home, and I'm being blasted on social media. This lady is like, oh, Commissioner Gibbs says that we've got to cut Mountaintop. We've got to cut the free clinic. So I just called her up and I said, okay, where did you hear this? And she's like, well, I watched the commission meeting. It was recorded. I saw it in the paper. And I said, do you still have your Grundy County Herald? And she's like, yeah. And I said, well, I've still got mine too. Let's turn to page 1 and let's read together. So we read together. Commissioner Gibbs said that we do have to tighten our belt, we do have to cut the budget, but there is no way we can cut programs like Mountaintop or the free clinic. And she's like, "Oh, I misread that." I said, "Well, I just wanted to make sure you understand that I'm not trying to cut these programs." And that's all it took was a simple phone call. But you are going to have people that misunderstand. You are going to have people that don't agree with you, and that's okay. We live in America. You can have your opinion, I can have mine, and you don't have to see it my way. But President Reagan said it the best when Reagan said, "We can get more accomplished when we talk to each other rather than talk about it." And that's the way I try to handle those things. I try to go to the source and I try to say, okay, I understand there's a problem, I understand there's an issue, let's talk it out. And maybe at the end of the conversation, we do get together on the same page. Maybe we still disagree, but that's okay. At least you know where I'm coming from, and I know where you're coming from. And not to beat a dead horse, but just one more example. You cannot please 100% of the people 100% of the time. And I learned this when I was mayor. There was a particular road in the city. It had a lot of potholes in it. It was a bad road. I admit it was a bad road, and people were complaining, "Oh, this road is horrible." I remember one guy even saying you could lose an SUV in one of the potholes. Now I don't know if it was quite that bad, but it was bad. So we worked with the road superintendent at the time. We were able to get a state street aid grant where the road superintendent and the county paid for the repair of part of this road, and the city of Grundy paid for the other part of the repair. And we got the road fixed, and it was nice, and it had the nice, pretty yellow lines and white lines on it. And it wasn't a week until somebody was like, "Well, I don't know why they fixed this road so well. This is an airstrip. You could land an airplane here. People are flying on this road." And at that point, I'm like, look, you've got to do what you think is right. You're never going to satisfy 100% of the people all the time. And so when something like that comes up, the first thing I do is I pray about it. I think about all the possible options. If there's someone you can get advice from, I go to that person and say, "Look, how would you handle this?" And then I do what I think is right. And once I've went through those steps, once I've prayed about it, once I've thought about it, once I've looked at it from every possible angle, I make the decision and we go. And I just hope it's the right decision. But you cannot satisfy 100% of the people all. So sorry, that was a long answer, but that's a couple of real life examples that I've went through. But it happens.
I think that really dead on. Someone was complaining about Miracle on the Mountain. And I'm like, oh my. I'm like, oh, bless it. Just bless it. All right, here we go.
I understand.
Oh, no. Oh, you can. All right, so this was actually just my question.
Okay.
Do you have a consistent voting record, and do you get involved in elections?
So I can honestly tell you that from the day I turned 18, I can't remember a single election that I didn't vote in. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I didn't, because I'm sure maybe I was on vacation or maybe I was sick, but yes, I consistently vote. I feel like that it's one of the greatest freedoms we have as an American to be able to vote, be able to voice our opinion. I think that it's our duty to vote in every single election. I do believe that if you don't vote, you shouldn't complain about anything, because, you have the right to make a difference. I teach history and government, and I teach my high school students all the time. I'm like, when you turn 18, you have got to get registered to vote, and you've got to have your opinion heard. And I'm going to give Mr. Gary Miller in the election office some credit here. Mr. Gary Miller comes to the high school every year. It's the election office's goal to get 100% of our seniors that are eligible to vote registered. We've won the Ann Dallas Dudley Award for several years, which, Miss Ann Dallas Dudley was a suffragette that fought for women's suffrage and women's right to vote. And I'm very proud that our election office comes in and stresses what we're stressing in the classroom about the importance of voting. So yes, I get involved in elections. Yes, I vote every possible time that I have the opportunity. I remember when Miss Basham was over the election office. I was in high school, and she came out and she was recruiting students to work the local elections. And so I thought, well, this could be cool. I'm going to try. So I started working the elections under Miss Donna Basham. And every election I could work, I volunteered to work it, because I really enjoyed seeing the process. I enjoyed meeting the people as they come in. And now it's my pleasure as a teacher to encourage my students. I'm like, hey guys, I did this when I was in high school and I never regretted it. I loved working these elections, and you will too. And a student that's willing to work the elections is a student that's willing to vote in the elections as well. So yes, I'm very active in the elections. I vote every chance I get. and I have ever since I've turned 8. So, yes, very active.
You are one of those. You are one of those children. I have a feeling Caden will be too. I half expect him to be president of the United States.
Well, maybe. We were at Tree of Life yesterday, meeting some of the residents and talking with them, and he went with me and he helped me give out some pens and talk to the residents there. And one of the residents looked at him and said, "You're going to be a politician." And I said, "I don't know. I hope not, but maybe." But
All right, our final question before we send you on your way, and probably the most important question: why should they vote for Kelly Gibbs?
so I've tried to express in this interview and in the interview I did back in May. I am a lifelong resident of Grundy County. I have a clear service record over the last 26 years of serving the people of Grundy County. As a volunteer fireman, I've volunteered to serve the people of Grundy County for the past 26 years. Didn't get paid a dime for that. I did it because I wanted to try to help my community. As the vice mayor of Grundy Logger, I volunteered for that position. I was elected, but it didn't pay anything. I did it because I wanted to see my community be the best it could possibly be. That's the same way with mayor. I've served on the county commission. I've been a teacher for the last 20 years. I have tried to be involved in as many things as I possibly could to try to help and build up this community because this is where I live. This is where I'm always going to live. Lord's will, nothing bad happens, but that's where I plan on always living. I want to make this community the very best community that it can possibly be. I have a proven record of administrative skills. I have a proven record of leadership. I have a proven record of budgeting. I have a network of people from Chattanooga to Nashville that I can call upon that I've worked with, whether that be CTAS, whether that be MTAS, whether it be this department, that department. I've been a teacher for 20 years, so I'm very in tune with our citizens. I'm very in tune with the next generation that's coming up. I've taught almost 4,000 students since I've been in the position I'm in at the high school. I am dedicated to this county. I have always been dedicated to serving this county. I have the historical background that we need in that office. I have the administrative background that we need in that office. I have a great relationship with the county commission. I have a great relationship with the mayor. And I would love to take all that experience and I'd love to apply it to the Register of Deeds office. And I believe if the people of Grundy County elect me that I can do a good job. I'm not running for sheriff. I don't know anything about running a sheriff's department. I'm not running for road superintendent. So I hope that the people of Grundy County know that when I say that I believe I can do this job and I can do this job well, I hope they believe me when I say I can do this. I can bring that past. I can bring that history, and I can work as a team member. And I really believe that I can be a really great Register of Deeds. So I hope that the people listening believe me when I say that 100%. I really would love to serve this county in a capacity that it seems like all my past has led me to. It seems like everything I've done in the past, the Register of Deeds is at the intersection of my background, of my service as a mayor, my service as a teacher. It seems like the Register of Deeds office right there. And I would love to serve the people in that case. So.
Right. Where can they find out more information about Kelly Gibbs and when is voting?
Okay, so you can find out more information. I have my own page. I have a Elect Kelly Gibbs Register of Deeds page that you can find out information. I am all over this county. It's very easy to find me. You're more than welcome to contact me. And of course, early voting starts this Friday. And you can vote at Plainview Community Center or you can vote at the Scruggs Building in Altamont. The election office has made it very convenient. And so I have the hours of early voting on my page. Anybody can look at it. I know a lot of the candidates have shared the early voting dates and hours, so it's on there. But you can go vote Monday through Saturday, early voting. And then, of course, the big election day is August the 6th. So that's the day we're all working toward.
It'll be interesting with the new security at the courthouse. I've heard that they're moving it over into the court, the outside of
and there's been a variety of different plans. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but But I mean, I'm proud of the security that's in place at the courthouse. We've needed to have that for time, and so you go to the courthouse, say hello to Les. 90% of the time, that's who's there. So
All
he's
right.
a good guy. He's a good guy.
I am going to send Kelly out to spread joy and sunshine. We're going to go on a quick break, thank our sponsors because we love them, and we've got another candidate interview in the wings. So just grab some coffee, come on back. We'll see you in a minute. As always, thanks for watching Morning on the Mountain.